Dear friends, I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for your condolences. Yes, I did take a hit, but it wasn't so much that my mother passed away. Rather, it was that the evil forces here denied me a last visit with my mother unless I would be willing to be in chains and shackled and guarded by heavily armed officers. My mother knows that I would never bow to such terror, or anything for that matter. So do not worry. I will not lose my faith in humanity, as I am fully aware that many of you have gone through similar experiences during the pandemic when they first went after the most vulnerable to inject them with their toxic brew in the nursing homes, and then forced them to die in complete isolation, sometimes in a bathroom, without their loved ones by their side. Now more than ever, I am determined to make sure that with your help and our group of international attorneys, justice is done, and that neither the evil monsters nor their corrupt and stupid puppets will get away. We can and must go through with this, and it seems to me that I bear special responsibility because I've always been very lucky in my life. And that, I am certain, is because I, like my siblings, have had the strongest support imaginable, and that is my parents. They truly loved each other, and they gave us everything they had, especially emotional support when we needed it. Only once did they hesitate, and that was when my then 85-year-old grandmother, Emma, and I wanted to go for a ride in my little red British convertible. But she and I just went ahead and cruised around for a while, top down, and the music blaring. Things like Betty Davis's Eyes by Kim Carnes or Jump by Van Halen. Everyone was happy, including eventually my parents. Enough of me. I will now explain to you why I am absolutely convinced that the collapse of the evil system is already happening, and that we are moving towards justice and then peace with giant steps. The German puppet regime was dealt two very serious blows for far below the waterline 2 weeks ago during the state elections, and another such blow is expected to hit them in 2 weeks in another state. France has been ungovernable since the European elections. There's now a zombie government in place, which the people despise and protest against. And in the UK, the same thing is expected to happen. In the fall, when the newly elected government will raise taxes, it'll become evident that contrary to the mainstream media's propaganda, the recent demonstrations had absolutely nothing to do with right-wing extremism, but everything with a corrupt government that's totally out of touch with the people. Everywhere, especially in the United States, people are waking up to the truth that the disruption of the economy, the murderous wars in Gaza and in Ukraine, and the so-called migration problems are not simply happening like an act of God. Rather, once again, just like during the pandemic, the fact that all of this is happening worldwide and in lockstep indicates beyond reasonable doubt that this is a coordinated, deliberate effort by or through the usual suspects. Institutions like the World Economic Forum, the WHO, the EU, NATO, and other institutions who nobody ever voted for. Many people have already turned away from both the mainstream media and political parties as they consider them suspicious and don't trust their obvious propaganda anymore. And it is precisely this which is a deliberately created chaos, which Robert F. Kennedy Jr. addressed in the best political speech I've heard and seen in a very long time when he announced on, I believe it was August 23rd, that he would no longer pursue his presidential ambitions in the swing states, but rather he would support Trump there. This was such big news that even the mainstream media couldn't ignore him anymore, which they had done even though at times he had attracted up to, I think, 20% of the votes to his independent bid for the presidency. This was massive headline news, and I watched it, or most of it, on Sky News and BBC. He explained why he had left the Democrats, the Democratic Party, which had been both his father's and his uncle's political home. It was because this party had been captured over the past 30 years and had been turned into a party of warmongers, destroyers of the economy, and, worst of all, censors who want to destroy free speech and thus democracy itself. This speech shows not only, just like his speech in Berlin in late August of 2020, that he is as authentic as his father and his uncle, but it also proved that he has no fear, that he is absolutely not afraid of speaking truth to power. I hope that he'll become Attorney General in a Trump administration, because as far as I'm concerned, he has both the personal integrity and the professional experience and knowledge that it takes. He would not only make sure that the pandemic and all its perpetrators are exposed once and for all. Remember his best-selling book, The Real Anthony Fauci. But he would also make sure that the right thing is done in Gaza and that the swamp will really be drained. If we start with the pandemic, everything else will fall into place automatically, and the whole picture, the whole puzzle will become visible. A week ago, the epitome of Britpop, the 90s band Oasis, announced that they will reunite. One of their most famous songs is Don't Look Back in Anger. Considering the current circumstances, it should be Do Look Back in Anger, because we need to stay laser focused on the murderous and destructive crimes against humanity and the perpetrators, so as to make sure that no one will escape justice. Because without the truth, there cannot be justice. And without justice, there cannot be peace, only more crimes against humanity. And we will not allow that to happen. Next time, I'll give you a taste of what really goes on in this very strange prison. It concerns me only indirectly, but I will bet anything that you will not believe it, even though it's the absolute truth. But you can change it, because sunlight is the best of disinfectant.